Most horror films scare you in the moment and let you go. These ones wait. They build, they breathe, they pull you in, and then the ending arrives and everything you thought you understood falls apart. 10 horror films from across the globe, ranked by how terrifying they are throughout, but their endings change everything that came before them. Ranked at number 10, Frailty. Written and directed by and starring Bill Paxton in his feature directorial debut, Frailty, 2001, opens late one night in a Dallas FBI office where a nervous man named Fenton Meeks tells Agent Wesley Doyle that he knows the identity of a serial killer called God's Hand, and that killer is his own brother Adam, who has just taken his own life. What follows is a deeply unsettling flashback to their childhood in rural Texas, where their widowed father woke them one night with a divine mission. An angel had commanded him to destroy demons living inside human bodies. He had a list, he had an axe, and he needed his boys to help him. Fenton is horrified from the first murder. He watches his father drag people to the shed, lay hands on them, experiencing visions of their sins, and axe them to death with complete conviction. Adam never questions it. He believes every word. When Fenton reports his father to the sheriff, his father finds out, locks him in a cellar for days, and forces him to witness one final murder before dying himself in a confrontation. Adam picks up the axe and finishes what his father started. Back in the present, Doyle follows Fenton to the rose garden where the victims are buried. Then the ending arrives and everything changes. The man we believed was Fenton is actually Adam, the true believer who continued the mission. The real Fenton grew up rejecting the mission and became a serial killer of innocent people. And Adam identified him as a demon on the list, killed him, and buried him in that same rose garden. Adam kills Doyle with the axe and buries him with the others before walking away. Now the local county sheriff, protected by something the film strongly implies is genuinely divine. The father was never delusional. The ending does not just change the story, it changes the question the entire film was asking. Ranked at number 9, Them. Directed by David Moreau and Xavier Palude, Them, 2006, is a French-Romanian horror film that opens with a chilling prologue, a mother and teenage daughter arguing in a car on a dark Romanian road at night. The car stalls, the mother steps out to check the engine and simply disappears. The daughter calls out for her, and her own voice is whispered back from somewhere in the trees. She reaches for her phone and is strangled before the call connects. The film then cuts to Clementine, a French teacher living in a sprawling, isolated country house outside Bucharest with her partner Lucas, completely unaware of what happened on that road. Their night begins with small disturbances, the television turning on by itself, their car moving in the driveway, the power cutting out entirely. Clementine and Lucas chase through darkened rooms, surrounding woods, and underground sewers by hooded figures they can hear but never clearly see. The attackers are fast, coordinated, and utterly silent except for the occasional sound of children playing. In the sewers, a hooded boy who initially appeared to help them suddenly turns on them. Lucas is dragged away screaming into the dark. Clementine is seized immediately after. Then the ending arrives. 4 hooded children emerge from the sewers into the dawn light and board a school bus. Both Clementine and Lucas were found dead 5 days later. The ending does not explain the violence. It makes it worse. Ranked at number 8, The Borderlands. Written and directed by Elliot Goldner in his feature debut, The Borderlands, 2013, follows a small Vatican investigation team sent to a remote 13th century church in the Devon countryside to verify claims of a miracle. Deacon, a skeptical religious brother, leads the team alongside Gray, a cheerful tech expert who sets up cameras throughout the church, and Father Mark, a strict priest who immediately clashes with both of them. The local priest, Father Krellick, presents footage of objects moving on the altar by themselves. Deacon is immediately doubtful. Gray is quietly fascinated. The investigation unravels slowly. Moving objects, strange sounds, unexplained electrical disturbances, a live sheep burned outside their cottage by local youths who seem to be warning them away. Father Mark grows increasingly erratic and vanishes entirely. Father Krellick, consumed by terror, throws himself from the bell tower. Deacon asks his Vatican mentor, Father Calvino, to conduct an exorcism. It fails catastrophically, with violent invisible forces shaking the church and Calvino's eyes beginning to bleed before he too disappears. As the film closes, Deacon and Gray follow the sound of Father Mark's voice into a hidden staircase beneath the church, finding evidence of child sacrifice and the bones of infants offered to something ancient and pagan. Father Mark walks ahead into the darkness, heedless of their calls. The tunnel walls begin to move, the exits seal with a thick membranous material. Acid seeps through the walls, dissolving everything it touches. The church was built around an ancient pagan entity, something with a stomach, and Deacon and Gray are already inside it. Deacon recites the Lord's Prayer as the walls close in. Gray screams. The footage cuts out. The ending does not just change the film, it changes what the entire church meant from the very first frame. Ranked at number 7, Pyewacket. Written and directed by Adam McDonald, Pyewacket 2017 follows Leah Reyes, a grieving, occult-obsessed teenager whose father has recently died, leaving her alone with a mother drowning in depression and alcohol. When Mrs. Reyes announces she is moving them to a remote woodland home far from everything keeping Leah grounded, their tension erupts into a vicious argument. And in a blind moment of rage deep in the woods that night, Leah performs a blood ritual summoning a demonic familiar called Pyewacket to kill her mother. She walks home. Her mother apologizes the next morning, and Leah realizes almost immediately she has done something she cannot take back. The signs begin small. Dirt tracked through the back door, footsteps in the attic, a shadowy figure moving through the house while she sleeps. Leah wakes in the woods one morning covered in blood with no memory of how she got there. Her best friend Janice spends the night and is found at dawn locked in the car, shaking uncontrollably, too terrified to explain what she experienced. Occult expert Rowan Dove tells Leah two things. The demon is a shapeshifter that cannot be trusted, and the only way to stop it is to perform the same ritual in reverse in the same location. Leah performs the reverse ritual and finds her mother's dead body lying in the forest beside her. She calls 911 and races home. Her mother is there waiting, but Rowan warned her, "Do not trust anything you see." Leah hides in the attic as a contorting figure chases her up the stairs. Her mother finds her, takes the knife from her hand, and speaks gently. By the time the credits roll, Leah has doused her mother in gasoline and burned her alive, convinced she is destroying the demon. The detective tells her quietly that no body was found in the woods, only a burned one inside the house. The ending reveals she destroyed the only person who was never the enemy. Ranked at number 6, Raw. Written and directed by Julia Ducournau, Raw, 2016, follows Justine, a brilliant 16-year-old from a family of strict vegetarians who arrives at the same prestigious French veterinary school where her older sister Alexia is already studying. On her very first night, the hazing begins. The entire freshman class is dragged from their beds, doused in animal blood, and forced to eat raw rabbit kidneys. Justine refuses. Alexia forces the kidney into her mouth anyway. By the next morning, something inside Justine has shifted in a way she cannot explain or control. The cravings begin slowly. Raw chicken stolen from the fridge at 3 in the morning, a hunger that ordinary food cannot satisfy. A rash spreads across her body. During a waxing session, Alexia's finger is accidentally severed by scissors, and before either of them understands what is happening, Justine has eaten it. The shame does not stop the hunger. She begins sleepwalking. She bites a chunk from her roommate Adrian's lip. She finds herself drawn to the cadavers in the anatomy lab in ways she cannot admit to anyone. Alexia eventually takes Justine to a deserted road and causes a car crash, eating one of the injured passengers in front of her to show her what they both are. The hunger wins. One morning, Justine wakes to find Adrian dead in her bed, a stab wound in his back and most of his right leg eaten away. She assumes she did it until she finds Alexia slumped on the kitchen floor covered in blood. It was Alexia. She killed him. Then the ending pulls the final piece into place. Justine visits her father in hospital, and he lifts his shirt to reveal deep scars and chunks of missing flesh from his chest, where their mother has been quietly feeding on him for years. The ending does not deliver a monster. It delivers a mirror, and the horror of realizing the thing you were running from was always sitting at the dinner table with you. Ranked at number 5, Pontypool. Directed by Bruce McDonald, Pontypool, 2008, opens on a snowy February morning in a small Ontario town where Grant Mazzy, a washed-up shock jock demoted to a tiny local AM radio show, drives through a blizzard to work. On the way, a disoriented woman bangs on his car window, repeating an indistinct word over and over before stumbling into the dark. Grant arrives at the station and begins his morning broadcast with producer Sydney and technician Laurel Ann. Everything runs normally until their field reporter Ken Loney calls in from the hills above town. A crowd outside a doctor's office, then violence, then bodies, then Ken's voice changes, and the line goes dead. The infected are moving in groups, chanting words, chewing through each other's mouths. The Canadian government broadcasts an emergency message in French. Do not use terms of endearment. Do not speak English. Do not translate. Then Dr. Mendez crashes through the station window with the truth. The virus has infected the English language itself. Specific words become carriers the moment a person truly understands their meaning. Laurel Ann begins repeating the word missing until she slams her head through the soundproof glass and chews off her own lower lip. Sydney is infected by a certain word, and Grant desperately redefines it, telling her over and over that word means kiss until the loop breaks and she comes back. They broadcast nonsensical phrases to confuse the infected. Then the military begins their countdown. The town of Pontypool is being bombed. Grant and Sydney share one final kiss as the countdown reaches 0 and the screen cuts to black. In the post-credits scene, the visual style shifts from black and white to color. Grant and Sydney reappear as Johnny Deadeyes and Lisa the Killer, surviving through improvisational roleplay that keeps the virus at bay. Somewhere on another radio station, a host says the word Pontypool and begins repeating it. The ending does not just change the story, it changes the language you use to understand it. Ranked at number 4. Session 9. Directed by Brad Anderson, Session 9, 2001, follows Gordon Fleming, a financially desperate asbestos removal contractor who lands a government contract to clean the abandoned Danvers State Mental Hospital, a vast, crumbling 19th century asylum in Massachusetts. Gordon needs the money badly. His wife Wendy has just had their infant daughter, and his company is on the verge of collapse. He promises the job done in 1 week. From the moment his crew walks through those doors, the hospital begins working on each of them differently. Hank disappears after discovering a cache of lobotomy instruments and human eyeballs in the crematory. Phil grows increasingly volatile. Jeff refuses to go near the basement alone. And Mike, a former law student, finds an old records room and spends every spare moment listening to 9 taped psychiatric sessions with a former patient named Mary Hobbs, a woman with 4 distinct personalities: Mary, Princess, Billy, and Simon. Gordon confides in Phil that he struck his wife Wendy after she accidentally splashed boiling water on him. What Phil does not know is that Gordon never stopped at a slap. He killed Wendy, their infant daughter, and their dog that same night, before he ever set foot inside the hospital. The asylum did not create the monster, it simply gave it somewhere to breathe. As the film closes, Craig McManus, the replacement worker, arrives and searches the silent corridors. Gordon emerges from the shadows and drives a lobotomy pick into Craig's head. Gordon then kneels in Mary's room surrounded by photographs of his crew and family pasted to the wall, apologizing into a broken phone. Mike's recorder plays the final tape. Session 9. Simon finally speaks, and when the doctor asks where Simon lives, the answer closes the film like a door slamming in the dark. He lives in the weak and the wounded. The ending does not reveal a monster from outside. It reveals the one that was always already there. Ranked at number 3, Titane. Written and directed by Julia Ducournau, Titane 2021 opens with a young girl named Alexia surviving a car accident that leaves a titanium plate permanently embedded in her skull. When she leaves hospital, she ignores her parents and wraps her arms around the car instead. As an adult, she works as a go-go dancer at underground motor shows and murders a fan who follows her to the parking lot using a metal hairpin driven into his ear. That same night, alone in the darkened showroom, she climbs into a flame-painted Cadillac and the car responds to her. Weeks later, she discovers she is pregnant. On the run from police after a massacre at her family home, Alexia spots a missing persons poster for a boy named Adrian who disappeared 10 years ago. She breaks her own nose, binds her chest and swollen belly flat, and walks into a police station presenting herself as the long-lost Adrian. Vincent, a fire chief, Adrian's father, a man held together by steroids and grief, accepts her without question because he desperately needs to. Their strange, tender coexistence inside the fire station deepens as Alexia's body slowly betrays her, skin tearing open at the stomach to reveal metal plates beneath, motor oil leaking from her body in the shower. Vincent eventually sees her in the bathroom and understands she is not Adrian. He covers for her anyway, because whoever she is, he has already decided she is his. By the time the credits roll, Alexia can no longer hold the pregnancy. Her skin splits open, revealing patches of titanium beneath, motor oil flowing where blood should be. Vincent delivers the baby, a boy with a titanium spine. Alexia dies on the bed. Vincent cradles the child, looks directly into the camera and whispers, "I am here." The ending of Titane does not just change the story, it changes what love, family, and being human were allowed to mean in the first place. Ranked at number 2, The Wailing. Written and directed by Na Hongjin, The Wailing, 2016, opens in Gokcheong, a small rain-soaked mountain village in South Korea where a strange infection has begun turning ordinary people into killers. Jong-gu, a bumbling but well-meaning local police officer, arrives at crime scenes that make no sense. Families slaughtered by their own loved ones, killers found alive but catatonic with eyes turned completely white. Rumors point to a mysterious Japanese stranger who arrived around the same time the deaths began. Jong-gu investigates his remote mountain home and finds an altar lined with photographs of every victim and one shoe belonging to his own daughter Hyojin. Within days, Hyojin begins showing the same symptoms, convulsing, screaming in voices that do not belong to her. Jong-gu brings in Il-gwang, a flamboyant local shaman, to perform an exorcism, drums, blood, costumes, fire, while the Japanese stranger simultaneously performs his own counter-ritual on the mountain above. Jong-gu, watching his daughter writhe in agony, cannot take it and shuts everything down. That decision costs him everything. A mysterious woman in white named Moon-myung tells Jong-gu the truth. The stranger is the demon. Il-gwang is working with him. She sets a trap. His family will be saved only if Jong-gu waits at a crossroads until he hears 3 rooster crows before going home. Il-gwang calls immediately and tells him to go home now. Torn between 2 voices, Jong-gu goes home before the 3rd crow. He finds his wife and mother-in-law dead, murdered by Hyojin in her possessed state. Hyojin stabs Jong-gu. He dies on his own floor. Il-gwang arrives and photographs the dead family, then opens a box from his car, photographs of every previous family the demon destroyed village by village across decades. The ending does not deliver answers. It delivers something worse. Jong-gu was given one chance, told precisely what to do, and chose wrong. Ranked at number 1, Inside. Directed by Julien Maury and Alexandre Bustillo, Inside, 2007, opens with a baby floating peacefully inside the womb before a car crash tears everything apart in seconds. Sarah, a young photojournalist, survives. Her husband does not. 4 months later, 9 months pregnant and hollow with grief, she sits alone the night before her scheduled delivery. A woman knocks on the door asking to use the phone. Sarah sends her away. The woman does not leave. La Femme wants Sarah's baby and has come equipped with scissors and a patience that is genuinely terrifying. Sarah locks herself in the bathroom. La Femme cuts through the house methodically, killing Sarah's mother, her boss, 3 police officers, each death more shocking than the last. Sarah fights back with knitting needles and an aerosol flamethrower, burning half of La Femme's face down to the bone. As the film closes, everything changes. La Femme reveals the truth. She was the other driver in Sarah's car accident. She was pregnant too. She lost her child in that crash and has spent 4 months calculating exactly how to take the one that survived. Before either woman can finish what they started, the 3rd officer, presumed dead, staggers back blinded and disoriented and beats Sarah's stomach with his club, mistaking her for the attacker. La Femme kills him. Sarah, water broken and dying on the stairs, looks up at the woman who spent the entire night trying to destroy her and begs her to save the child. La Femme tearfully performs a cesarean with her scissors. The last image is La Femme sitting quietly in the dark, cradling a living baby against her ruined face. The violence stops. The house goes silent. The woman at the door was never a monster. She was a mother. And the ending does not just change the story, it makes you grieve for both of them. And that is the ranking. If you are choosing where to start, Pontypool is the one. If you want something that hits on a completely different level, The Wailing is the film. And if you are ready for the number 1 spot, Inside is the most brutal film on this list. Drop a comment telling me which ending hit you hardest. Hit like and subscribe. More horror breakdowns coming soon.